Hey everyone, welcome to this Unity3D tutorial. Inside this tutorial, I'm going to explain how to program a simple cannon. So let's go and get started. I'm not going to go through how to build a cannon inside a 3D modeling program like Blender, but I've already created one right here inside Blender. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to drop it into Unity, and then we are going to make it fire a cannonball. Here's my cannon file. I'm just going to drag all these assets along with the texture files right here into my Unity project. So first, I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it cannon. And then I'm just going to take these files right here, and I'm just going to drag it in my scene. So you can go to use any kind of external 3D modeling program to create your own cannon. And once you've done that, you can just bring it into your Unity project. So here's my cannon right here. It's nice and textured. It's got the edge smoothing on it. So first thing I want to do though, I do want there to be collision on this cannon. So I'm going to go to I'm going to click my file. I'm going to go to the model tab, and I'm going to check mark generate colliders, and I'll press apply. Okay, that's done. Then I'm going to drag it into my scene. This will eventually be a prefab because I'm going to place multiple ones throughout my level here. But I need to create it first. I'm going to rotate it. So here's the cannon. Right now it doesn't fire anything. That's what we're going to do. So first thing we want to do is, once we have our cannon inside our scene, we want to go ahead and create the spawn point for the cannonball. The way this will work is, this cannon will be right here. We're going to create a trigger zone. You could also use vector3.distance, but I will use a trigger zone because I think it's probably better in terms of optimization. Because if you had like 50 cannons throughout your level and you were using vector3.distance every single frame, it could probably bog down your system. So I'm just going to use a trigger zone with a collider. So every time our Neptune model right here is within the trigger zone and plays a wave animation, which I have set to play when the player presses the E key. When she plays that wave animation, a cannonball will fire. So first thing we want to do is create the spawn point. So let's just create an empty game object. So go to game object, create empty. Let's name this spawn point. And then just drag this onto cannon to make it a child. You'll see it right here. It's now a child of cannon. And you want to set your X, Y, and Z to 0, 0, 0 to have it perfectly centered. And then you want to move your spawn point to the position where you want the cannonball to spawn. So in my case, I want it to spawn right here in front of the cannon's barrel. So I'm going to place it. So that seems to be good enough. So once I have that in place, I should probably go ahead and create my cannonball prefab. So you can easily use a sphere. In my case, I'm going to use a bomb that I created earlier. So this is my bomb. Like I said, you can easily use a sphere. This bomb is pretty spherical. So because cannon is going to fire out, we want there to be a collider and a rigid body on it. So let's go and add those. So let's add the collider. We'll click the bomb inside our scene and press add component. We want a sphere collider. And as you can see, it's a little too big, so I'm going to adjust the size. And the position. Change the Z. Right there, that seems to be fine. Okay, we also need a rigid body so it'll fall. So click add component, rigid body. Okay, so now that we have the rigid body on, make sure you have use gravity check mark because we do want it to fall. We can get rid of this animator component if you're using like a 3D model created in Blender or something. you might have that animated component. This bomb doesn't have any animation, so I'm going to get rid of that. But let's go ahead and make this a prefab. So I have my prefabs folder right here. I'm just going to create a new one by, well, I can delete that because I created that earlier, but I'm going through its creation right now again. So I'm going to create a prefab for my bomb. I'll right click my folder. You can put it anywhere you want. I'll go to create and prefab, and then I'll just drag this onto new prefab, and I'll change the name. I'll change it to bomb. I also want to change the material. I'll make it a little darker. Actually, I'm going to leave it alone. I think that's fine. So now that I have that, I'll just delete that because I'm going to instantiate them. So let's go to our cannon. Let's go back to our cannon. We have the spawn point right there. We need to go ahead and create that trigger zone I was talking about because I'm not going to go through the vector3.distance method. So go to game object, create other cube, and then drag it on the cannon to make it a child. This is going to be our trigger zone. So let's set it to 0, 0, 0 with the X, Y, and Z position so it's perfectly centered. And then let's change the size, because right now Neptune won't really be able to get right there. So I'll change my X to 4 and my Z to 4. Your values might be different, but these right here will work for me. We also don't want this mesh renderer, so I'm going to go to my cube's components, and I'm going to right click mesh renderer, and I'm going to go to remove component. And so now all I'm left with is its collider. And because this is a trigger zone, we want to make sure we have is trigger selected. If is trigger wasn't selected, in fact, let me illustrate it. So if I press play with is trigger not set, I won't be able to walk through it, so I won't be able to use it as a trigger zone. So that's why you have to have it check marked. So make sure you have is trigger selected. We need to create a script for this zone. This is I'm going to call it cannon zone. It's going to be in C#, and that script will control the shooting. So that's where the shooting will take place. So I'll create a script. I'll say I'll call it cannon zone. And I'll also change the name of my cube to cannon zone, so it's a little more descriptive. I'm going to drag my cannon zone script onto cannon zone, the child, not onto the parent. So make sure your script is on cannon zone. And I'll open it up inside mono develop. Is it open? Okay, so here's my script. Right now it's just outline. So let's go and get started with this part. First thing I need to create is an object, a game object variable for my cannonball prefab. In my case it was that bomb, because this is what I'm going to want to instantiate. I also want to have a reference for my spawn point, and I want it to be a transform. We also need a variable, a Boolean variable to keep track of when we're inside the zone and when we're outside. So let's go ahead and worry about this value right here. Let's go and figure out how to tell when we are in the zone and when we're out. So Unity has some functions to use for trigger zones. So to use them, just type in void on trigger and enter. And the parameter is a collider. So this will tell us when an object is inside the trigger zone. The one to tell us when an object leaves the trigger zone is called on trigger exit. And it also takes a collider parameter. We only want to use this, we only want to check this, we only want to set end zone equals to true whenever the player enters the zone. And we want it to set it to false whenever the player exits the zone. So say if col dot game object dot tag is equal to player, say in zone is equal to true. So in order for this to work, you have to make sure the character that you're going to be checking has the tag player. So this is my character right here. I'm using Neptune, and I have her tag set to player. So that's, you have to make sure the tag is set properly. So if she walks into the zone, in zone will be set to true. We'll do the same thing. We'll do something similar in this case for when she leaves the zone. So if coal.gameObject.tag is equal to player, then we know she's left the zone, so we can say in zone is equal to false. And that's that. That's how to keep track of what enters. Well, that's how to determine when your character with the tag player enters the zone and when the player exits the zone. So inside update, we want to say if we're in the zone, if input.getKey down E, because like I said, whenever she's in the zone and the player presses the E key, she'll perform that wave animation, and whenever that wave animation is played, a cannonball will fire. So we can just say if she's inside the zone and she presses E, in other words, she's performing the wave animation, we want to call a function called fire cannonball. We're going to create this function. So underneath your update, let's go and create that function. We'll say void fire cannonball. And so what we'll do with this, we will create a cannonball. We'll instantiate a cannonball. So Unity has an instantiate function. So we're going to create a game object. So game object cannonball is equal to instantiate cannonball prefab, which corresponds to this right here. We have to set this inside the editor. We'll do that when we get back to the editor. So instantiate cannonball prefab, and we want to create it. We want to instantiate it at spawn, the position of the spawn point. So spawn point position, and we want it to have the same rotation as the spawn point when it's instantiated. One more thing we need to do with this line, we have to make sure the types match. So in this case, we have a game object. Unity will tell us that this type right here is just an object. So we have to typecast it. So we'll just, in front of the instantiate part, we'll open parentheses and type in game object to make sure the types match. And to give it force, actually, let's go ahead and test this out. So our cannon zone has this cannon zone script. We need to set the spawn point and the cannonball prefab. So just drag spawn point onto spawn point, and then drag your whatever you want to shoot out. In my case, it was this bomb right here. This is my cannonball. So I'm just going to put bomb right there. This is what will instantiate. So every time she's in the zone and she presses the E key, one of these will be created at the spawn point. And then later I'll show you how to actually give it some force. So let's go ahead and press, I'll turn off my full screen, and I'll press play to test this out. So right now she's in the zone. I'll press E, and you'll see the bomb spawn right there every time I press the E key. Right now there's no force because I haven't added a force to those bombs. So let's press play. So let's go ahead and add a force to it. It's real simple. There's a function called add force provided by Unity. So I'm going to take the object I just instantiated, and I'll say cannonball.rigidBody, because we need to add the force to the rigid body. RigidBody.add force. We want to shoot it in the direction of our spawn point. Spawn point dot forward. Sometimes you might see it like spawn point.transform.forward, but because our spawn point is a type transform, we don't have to say spawn point.transform. We can just say spawn point.forward times 80. This is just a force value. And Unity has 4 different force modes. So you see acceleration, force, and impulse, and velocity change. In this case, we want to use impulse. Impulse is useful for things to simulate like explosion, something very sudden. So to kind of clarify what I mean by spawn point by forward, spawn point.forward, this is our spawn point right here. The blue arrow corresponds to the forward vector. So that's the direction that we want to shoot it. So if for some reason your spawn point was pointing, the forward vector was pointing not forward in the correct direction of the cannon, you would want to change it. So in my case, I just want to make sure it's pointing forward. So now that I have this line inside, when I go back and test it out, cannon will fire. It will instantiate a bomb, and then it'll shoot it out using that add force line. So I'm in the zone, and I'll press E, and as you can see, the cannon is shooting several bombs. Every single time I press the E key, it'll fire a bomb. So very simple stuff. Okay, so I want some effects on my bomb. When I shoot the bomb, I want a smoke trail to tail it. So I'm going to take my bomb, I'm going to drag it into my scene, and I'm going to use a prefab called smoke trail. If you don't have this prefab right here, you want to go to Assets, Import Package, and Particles. If you import this Particles package, you'll get several prefabs created by Unity for your use. So I'm going to take this prefab right here. Make sure you get the one with the space in between, not the one with this, because it has a rigid body. You don't want a rigid body on this. So grab the one with the space bar, well, with the space between, and then just drag it onto your bomb. Then set the X, Y, Z to 0, 0, 0 if it isn't already. And right now this is a little big, so I'm going to lower the values. I'll set the minimum size to 0.6, max size 0.6, minimum energy to 1.5, actually 1.75, 1.75, and I'll set min size to 0.8, max size 0.8. I'll save that, and then because I'm altering a prefab, I want to make sure I save it, so I'm just going to drag this new this bomb that I've made changes to, and I'm just going to drag it on the bomb. So now my prefab is saved. So now when I shoot the cannon, you'll see a smoke trail behind it. And there it is. So one thing we should definitely do, if you're using this inside of the game, if you just keep pressing, if you just keep instantiating bombs, you're going to create all these game objects. So you really need to destroy these once they collide. So we'll create a script called Cannonball. And we will put this on our bomb. So make sure it's on the parent. There it is right there. So now we'll edit it. And so we're going to use a function provided by Unity called onCollisionEnter. And basically what will happen is if something collides with it, it will destroy itself. It'll instantiate an explosion and it will destroy itself. So underneath update, we'll say void onCollisionEnter collision call. And inside it, we want to instantiate an explosion just for an added effect. So instantiate explosion prefab. We'll create this variable in a second. And we want to create a transform.position, transform.rotation. Once we instantiate that that explosion, we just want to go and destroy this game object, so that way we aren't creating lots and lots and lots and lots of bombs. So we need to create this this variable right here. So we'll say public game object explosion prefab. This has to be the same as this. So the same idea of instantiating a bomb when we shoot it out of the cannon, we're going to instantiate an explosion whenever the bomb collides with something. So save that and return to the editor. So click the bomb, and we need to set our explosion prefab. So there are some provided by Unity. You're gonna have this one right here, but you can also use the detonator package provided by Unity. If you don't have the detonator package, Google it. Just Google Unity detonator package and save it. And once you have that package, in my case, mine's in my downloads folder. I can go to assets, import package, custom package. And inside my downloads, you see detonator right here. I've already imported mine, and when you import it, you'll notice this folder right here gets created. Where did it go? This folder right here, detonator, and it comes with several prefabs for explosions. For in my case, if I wanted to just test one of these out, I can just drag one into my scene. Then I can press the play button, and it'll just explode. So they're really, really good explosion prefabs. So like I said, you don't have to use these. You could just easily, comment this line out and just destroy them whenever the cannonball collides with something. But I want a little extra pizzazz, so I'm going to create an explosion whenever it collides with something. So I'm going to go back to my bomb. Now I need to set the explosion prefab, so I'm just going to click this circle right here. I'll type in detonator, or you can use one of the explosion ones, but I'm going to use one of the detonator explosions, and I'm going to use I'll use chunks. So now when it hits the ground, you will see a large explosion. So make sure you set this on your prefab. So I'll press play, I'll maximize my screen, I'll go over to the cannon, press E, wait for it to hit the ground, and an explosion will occur. So I can just keep tapping E, and you'll see more and more explosions occur. So that's how to use the detonator package with your bomb if you want an explosion to occur on collision. One last thing, I want to create a prefab for my cannon, so I'll go to my prefabs folder, I'll right click, go to create prefab, and I'll call this cannon, and I'll drag this my cannon that I created inside my scene. I'll drag this onto my cannon prefab. So now I can easily just drag and drop as many of these prefabs as I want. So I can also just copy this one, so I'll place some more cannons throughout my scene. I'll set them 10 units apart. So that was a little too far. Delete that one. I'm just going to line them up along this wall. I'm also going to put one like right here. So of course you don't have to do this. This is just me playing around. Since I'm kind of done explaining how to fire a cannon. So you could also program this to kind of change the rotation of the cannon. In this case, you would have to separate the barrel portion of the cannon. I'm not going to explain that. So I can now go to my scene. I have all these different several cans throughout my scene. I can just go up to them, and they all have these trigger zones. I can press E, and they will fire every single time I play that wave animation. So hopefully this tutorial was helpful, and I guess that's how to fire a cannon inside Unity 3D.